So there's a lot of really awesome content coming up to Marvel's Avengers that you should expect happening really soon. There's a lot of confirmations that for the next couple of weeks, the first big content update is going to drop, coming up with a ton of cool new additions. This includes a brand new social space, new story missions, some more endgame activities and rewards, but most important, starting next month, we will also start seeing those brand new heroes with their new stories, additions, skills, items, and even more so those villains that you might like and enjoy. But in this video I want to cover all of that, as well as a timeline of all of the things that you should expect for the rest of the year and beyond. So if you enjoyed this video at any point, a thumbs up on it would be super awesome, and let's jump right into it. Nonetheless, let's get started with the month of September. We have a few weeks in this still left. We are about at the half of it, but there is still quite a lot planned in it. On top of the patch 1.30 that we've talked about, that's mostly only bug fixes, we do have a lot of content update that has been both confirmed following the most recent War Table event, but we also have the game's combat director that a while ago confirmed that many of these would drop about 2 weeks after the game's launch. So the likely first addition we're gonna see is going to be that Shield Substation Zero. Not only does this get added as a brand new social space, but it's also a whole operation in itself, which means that it is going to add that brand new space, but also brand new story missions that will somehow tie in with the conclusion of the main campaign that we have right now. It's likely going to also be a prequel to the even bigger release of Kate Bishop in late October, but I'm going to explain that in just a little bit. In the meantime, what you need to know about this is that it's a brand new area we can go to, very similar to the Helicarrier and the Anthill, but of course it is going to be in this really awesome Shield Substation Zero that we also saw in the recent War Table event. You can obviously teleport at this at any time, most likely from the same War Table map, and it is going to contain many of the things similar to the ones in the other social spaces, and this includes likely access to different kinds of vendors and other types of NPCs to interact with. But on top of these, we also get access to some brand new endgame content as well as rewards. As I've said, we get access to these mega hives and the AIM secret lab. Now the mega hives are more designed towards solo players, so you can go ahead and use your AI bots team to go ahead and complete these. Meanwhile, the AIM secret lab will require a lot more coordination, so you might want to invite some players in, or maybe even use the matchmaking, assuming of course that it is going to get fixed by then. Nonetheless, according to the game's combat director in an interview from a while ago, he confirmed that both of these are supposed to come out about 2 weeks after the game's launch, and since we now know that these are part of the Shield Substation Zero update, it's very likely that we will get all of this content in the next couple of weeks, so basically this very month. Now, starting with the mega hives, these are very similar to the regular hives, except that they have an infinite amount of floors, and with each floor that you pass through, it is going to increase that difficulty even more. One of the first ones that we had a chance to look at was the Gauntlet of Heroes. It's likely also the first one that we will have access to, and you do have to know that these are going to get released on a weekly basis, so you will have a limited amount of time to complete them. But once inside of them, you're going to have to play through these infinite floors. As you progress through them, you might have some of your party mates being knocked out, so if you do get knocked out during one of these floors, your game will automatically switch to somebody else in your party up until there's nobody left standing. So the more you progress through these infinite floors with your entire team, the better the rewards are going to be, and you will want to kind of strategize beforehand which heroes you're going to use first and which ones you're gonna want to leave as the last. The next one is going to be the AIM secret lab, again more designed towards co-op, and it is going to be the most difficult type of content in the game. Even its requirement is going to be for the maximum power level cap of 150 at a minimum, so you are going to have to equip everybody, or at the very least one of the characters, to be at that level. It's going to be more difficult than anything. It's going to culminate in a massive boss fight that is going to depend on your performance in the mission up until that point. So my expectation for this is that you will get these checkpoints. If you get like 5 stars in all of them and you get a really high average star rating, it's very likely that the boss that gets revealed at the end of it is also going to be a more important one, like maybe a named boss from the main campaign like Taskmaster or Abomination. And meanwhile, if you get a lower star rating, it may only spawn an AIM unit like an elite boss or a mini boss that you are going to have to fight, and probably for a lower reward. Nonetheless, they do sound interesting. I really hope that these are going to be the next way to get exotics in the game, because now we only have the elite heroic hives and they are also bugged. So hopefully these will add more variety to the end game. I think that now we can realize why there have been some of the recent nerfs is because they want us to focus on these highest of high-end challenges that they are planning to add in the game. Now, as I've said, this is going to be kind of like a prequel to what's going to happen next month at the end of it, when we are going to get Kate Bishop as part of the Hawkeye update, which is going to be a two-part kind of update that's going to introduce two new playable characters. The first one is obviously going to be Kate Bishop sometimes in late October, and then we're gonna have Clint around the middle of November. Again, both part of that Hawkeye update and both as playable characters. In both of these cases, they are going to introduce some brand new story. Of course, they are both operations, so they will introduce these new heroes, new villains, new story, and likely another region on top too, but that hasn't yet been fully confirmed. What we do know is that the story directly continues from the events of the main campaign. First, we get the first part of it with the Substation Zero update, when we have those temporal anomalies with the Techian project happening, and then we transition into it and what was shown in that Kate Bishop reveal trailer when we saw Clint appearing to work for AIM, but it's very likely that he started first as kind of like a spy trying to see what their aim is and what they're trying to do, and then somehow he kind of got too involved and maybe he's now trying to discover whatever this new weapon AIM is trying to find, especially Monica, since they are kind of seeming to play with some temporal kind of technology that alters time, because we do know from the next update with the Substation Zero that these temporal anomalies start appearing and we have to stop them and see where they come from. So it's very likely that this is what's going to happen. This is going to be the route that we're gonna follow, and it's very likely that Clint might also be introduced as a form of villain at first. Like, what if at first he kind of tries to go in, spy on AIM, and somehow he falls under Monica's control and he kind of becomes this villain that we have to fight at the end of it, and once we defeat him, he is going to open up as a playable kind of character. Even more so since we got that hint from the operation's name. We can see over there that it mentions that Hawkeye is back, then everything is getting blanked, and at the end of it I'm pretty sure it mentions AIM's newest weapon. So what if it says Hawkeye is back, he somehow gets involved with AIM and he becomes AIM's newest weapon that we have to fight with? It would definitely tie in really well, it would make things even more interesting, and it would feel more rewarding if we got him, even more so because we do know that he has a room on the helicarrier, and we do know that eventually he is going to make his way over there. So it does sound really interesting, and what's most interesting is that both of these characters will have different kinds of attacks, abilities, skills, and all that kind of stuff that you will unlock like you do with the base characters anyway. What's most intriguing is the fact that his operations name is called Future Imperfect. Now, you probably don't know about this, but this is basically a reference to the Incredible Hulk Future Imperfect comic series from the 90s that is actually really awesome, and it actually ties in with Captain Marvel and Spider-Man in a very interesting kind of way. So this comic series with the Future Imperfect basically describes a dystopian future where most of the humanity and most of the superheroes kinda basically died as a result of some sort of conflict, with the exception of the Incredible Hulk. But because of all of the loss that he has suffered and from all of the radiation that he managed to absorb as a result of that particular event, he kinda goes insane and becomes this darker, more sinister version of himself called the Maestro. And it's definitely one of the best stories ever written for the Incredible Hulk. It's one of the best regarded at the very least, and it also introduces, as I've said, a number of key characters that we wanted and were data mined in the game anyway, which were Captain Marvel and Spider-Man, because in the comics, in the Future Imperfect series, both of these actually get involved in the story as some kind of time travelers. What's particular about Captain Marvel and Spider-Man in that Future Imperfect series is the fact that Captain Marvel isn't Marvel, neither the female version from the movies, it's in fact Marvel's son, which also becomes Captain Marvel in one of the stories from the Marvel Universe. I'm not 100% familiar with all of them, it's way too much history, so if anybody knows more about this, feel free to add in the comment section down down below. But we also get a really cool thing about Spider-Man, because it's not the regular current time Spider-Man, but in fact Spider-Man 2099 from the year 2099, and it's one of the coolest Spider-Mans that ever were created. He has really awesome gadgets, his suits are really amazing, and the way he looks is really amazing. Also, like, the entire story and the setting is really freaking cool, so I'm really curious to see what they will do with his story arc if it gets added with the 2099 storyline. Of course, both of these, and especially so Spider-Man, will be an early 2021 release, so don't expect it this year. It's probably going to drop sometimes in February or maybe March, I'm not entirely sure, but before that I'm fully expecting a third hero release, which should be none other than, of course, Black Panther. And the reason I'm saying that is because I'm pretty sure that he is already done, he should have already been showcased, but because of the recent events with the actor and unfortunate events that happened recently, yeah, out of respect for what happened, the company decided to not show any gameplay in the most recent War Table event. So it makes sense for him to be added sometimes after Kate Bishop and Clint Barton, and maybe we will get him as some form of a December release, and if not, it is going to get added as a very early on 2021 release before Spider-Man gets added. This would mean we would get a brand new hero almost every 2 months, give or take, and this also means that many of these updates will coincide with the release of the new generation of consoles. We kind of already know the release of the Xbox Series X, it should also follow suit with the PS5, and I think that the Hawkeye reveal and release is also going to coincide with that, or at the very least be very close to the release of the PlayStation 5, which would make a total amount of sense. This is it though with the most recent news and information. Of course, let me know down below what is your opinion on all of this. As always, if you enjoyed it at any point, it would be super awesome if you left a like on it, subscribe, and even activate the notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next one.